Hi everyone, it is Wednesday, June 10th, 2015, and this is episode 23 of the Serenova Crafts podcast. I remember what episode it was this week, though I did stutter over my own two words. I'm your host, Jessica. I can be found as Serenova on Ravelry and Twitter, and Serenova_Phoenix on Instagram. You can find the show notes on my blog at myknittinglife.wordpress.com. Anything else? Oh, there is a Ravelry group for the podcast, Serenova Crafts Podcast. Hi, Kat. You gonna come up here? She just jumped down and came over. Come on. Come on. We changed her food, so she's really mad at us. Because I don't think she really likes the new one, but we're kind of not giving her an option. Yeah. That's how you get a cat to eat new food. Don't give them another option. I know, we're mean cat owners. But the food we've been feeding her, I found out, could be, really bad for her kidneys and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, let's not feed her that food. Anyways, this is ostensibly a knitting and crafting podcast, so I guess I should show you some knitting. First of all, I'm leaning forward to pick stuff up off the ground. I finished the sample socks for Tina's September. I will link her shop and blog in my show notes, but I finished these. So when I get off work for the day today, because I'm recording this before work, when I get off work for the day today, they are going to get a bath, and then they'll go in the mail in the next day or two, because I'll leave them to dry overnight, and then they should be in the mail. So I did my standard toe, cast on 20 stitches, increase 4 stitches every other row, so that's 2 on the front, because I do magic loops, so that's 2 on the front and 2 at the back of the sock every other row. Increase up to 72 on a US 1, then knit stockinette until I get to the point where I do the heel. I do a fish lips kiss heel, and I then continue in stockinette until I hit the length I like, and then I do 20 rows of 2x2 ribbing for the cuff. Of course, this only works because it's my gauge, and I knit super tightly, and it's a bit of a running gag. But these are done. I have gone back to my personal sock club for June. I did manage to turn the heel of the first sock last night. So, considering this is the 10th of June, and there are 30 days in the month of June, yeah. This is, it's coming along okay. I pulled, so you can see the stripe progression on the foot. And then for the heel, what I did was, because this is Patton's Croy, and it's 1 ball per sock instead of 1 ball for 2 socks, I pulled from the wrong end of the other ball to do the heel. And then when I get to the heel of the second sock, I will use the leftovers from the first ball to do the heel of that sock. I was originally going to use different yarn to do the heel, but then I was like, wait a minute, I have 2 balls of yarn. I can just pull from the wrong end of the other ball. Duh. So, that'll be that. And so, what this does is, it keeps the stripe progression on the top of the foot consistent. Not on the back, obviously, because the heel's a different color. But on the top of the foot, it'll be consistent. And the heels probably aren't going to match, but that's okay. So yeah, I have been knitting socks, and more socks. Still no progress on the Shawl of Doom. I think I'm giving up on submitting that for the knit-along I was going to submit it for. I do want to finish it soon, though. Excuse me, I'm yawning. I do want to finish it soon, though, because I still want to submit it in the fair. But considering I finished the Tina's September socks yesterday, I did put a few rows on my sock club sock. There's not much here, but it's coming along. I'm actually in the middle of a row here, but whatever. The yarn is actually knitting up really cool. I really like the colors. Let me get some slack here so I can hold it to the camera. There we go. So these are cuffed down, which I don't normally do anymore, but if I like the pattern, I'll follow the directions. So I'm following directions, and this is a cuff down sock. So there you go. The pattern is free on Ravelry, and I'll tell you what it is in a moment. So there you go. Eck, come on. It's being contrary. Stop being contrary and let me show you to the people on the internet. Well, it's not focusing, but it did show you the color fairly accurately at least, so that's something. And so the pattern is, that's not the right one, because they gave us 2 patterns with our sock club. So the pattern is, I'm not used to printed patterns anymore because I keep them all on my iPad. The pattern is Diamonds in the Fluff by Leslie Comstock. It is free on Ravelry. It uses a US size 1.5 needle, which is 2.5 millimeters. That's a US 1.5. It comes in 3 sizes, 6 1/4 inches, 7 1/4 inches, and 8 1/4 inches, which translates to 64, 72, or 80 stitches. Now, I normally do my socks on 72s on a US 1. Now, since this is only a half size up instead of like a full US 2, I did the 72 size anyways. It might be a little loose, but I think that'll be okay. Especially because my gauge is so tight anyways. I didn't want to go up to the 80, but there's no way I was getting a 64 stitch sock around my foot at my gauge, even if it is a US 1.5. So I just did the middle ground. I did the 72 stitches, which I know fits on a size 1. Now, like I said, it's probably going to be a little loose, but I'll probably just use them as house socks because there's no nylon in this yarn. Now, don't get me wrong. This is lovely yarn. I love Iacos. That's the yarn. It's a fingering weight. I absolutely love it. But there's no nylon, so it can be a little easy wearing for socks because I have made a pair of socks out of it before. And they're the only socks I've ever put a hole in so far in my 4 years of sock knitting. So, but it's great for shawls, hats. It's great for a lot of stuff. And this is the cake. Here's the yarn cake. It's really pretty colors. I like it. But anyways, so that's my sock club sock. Hopefully I'll get some more progress on that soon. And the exclusive bag, which is really nice. These are quarterly, so I have 3 months to knit this sock, and I've only had it for like 2 weeks now, so, you know. Actually, it's been a week and a half. It'll be 2 weeks on Friday. It'll be 3 weeks, excuse me. Hold on. Looking at the calendar. No, you stupid. Sorry, I've been having computer problems. No, it'll be 3 weeks on Friday. Okay, so I've had it for 3 weeks. But still, I have 3 months to knit the sock. Yeah, that's it for knitting. Seriously, that's it. Yeah, 8 1/4 minutes in, and that's it. But I am going to finish off March Skies, who's Katie, her question that she PM'd me on Ravelry, which was asking about my trips to Israel. So I'm going to proceed to ramble about my second trip to Israel, which was in 2007. And actually, I have a lot more pictures from that one, so I'll put them in at the end with captions of where I was with each picture was taken. This trip was interesting because, A, it was in January, which is not your normal time to visit Israel, it's their rainy season, so it was like 40 degrees Fahrenheit and raining like the entire time we were there. Which for a New Englander in January, 40 degrees is balmy, because literally when we flew out of Boston, it was like negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. So like, it was like a 50-degree jump in temperature to go there. So we're like, oh, it's so warm, and the Israelis thought we were bonkers. But anyways, this one was actually a school trip. Now, what it was that the first college I went to, because I went to 3, and if you want to know about that, I'll get into it another time. This was the first college I went to. Now, I started there in the fall of 2006. Now, now that fall semester, when signing up for spring classes and stuff, there was a trip to Israel. Now, this was as a history class. It wasn't for any religious reasons. In fact, there was only 3 Jews on the entire trip, of a group of about 10 people from the school, and a group of about 30 people in the overall tour group that we did. So, and there was only about 3 Jews. So it was actually really interesting, because I got to see Israel, even though I am Jewish, going on this trip showed me Israel from a not Jewish standpoint. Because, I mean, that land and all the history there is very prominent in 3 different religions. So it's easy to see why there's a lot of conflict in the region. Honestly, I think if everyone just sat down and had a good long talk, but I know it's not that simple, and I don't want to get into politics here, but it was interesting seeing it from a new perspective. Because the first time I went to Israel, it was a very Jewish trip. Because that was a trip done by a Jewish organization for Jewish teenagers to Israel. This one was done by a secular school for a secular history class to the state of Israel. So it was very different. But we went around to a bunch of different places, and I'm going to completely misremember the order of things. But we went to, like, Beersheba, and we did Caesarea, and went to the Golan Heights. So I went to the Golan Heights again. We did Masada, Jerusalem. There was a side trip to Bethlehem, which was an optional trip through the tour group. Now, to go to Bethlehem, you have to cross the Green Line. Now, the Green Line is... How do I explain the Green Line? So, there was what secular people call the 7 Days War in Israel in the 70s. And what Jews call the Yom Kippur War. Because that's when Egypt and I think Syria attacked Israel on Yom Kippur. It was 1977, if I remember correctly. If I was wrong, there will be a caption saying the correct date. But it was Yom Kippur, and they figured Israel would be weak, because Yom Kippur is a fast day for Jews, and we're not supposed to carry weapons or anything. We're supposed to be in synagogue praying. But Israel had gotten wind that an attack was planned, and so when the 2 countries attacked, Israel was ready. Israel was prepared, because they knew it was coming. So that's when they captured the West Bank, Golan Heights, a bunch of the territory that they have in their east, and they literally took all of Sinai from Egypt. They then gave it back, like, 2 weeks later as part of the peace process, but they literally took all of Sinai. Like, they bombed the crap out of 2 other countries' air forces to such an extent that they no longer had an air force. Because Israel knew they were coming and knew they were ready, right? So the Green Line, so the term Green Line comes from old satellite photos of the region pre-Yom Kippur War. So what it was Israel had irrigated, and there were farms up to the international border. So there was literally, when you looked at the color satellite photos of the day, there was literally a line of green in the desert. And so today, it's what they captured beyond that Green Line, which was the original 1948 border of Israel per the British mandate when they became a country. So that was the original border. And then Israel has since expanded out with territory it's captured from its countries to its east, right? And today the Green Line exists as a line on political maps, but in terms of like actual physical line in the geography, it's not there anymore because they've now irrigated and farms and stuff are all in the occupied territory. But it's still a line where there's issues because a lot of Palestinians now live beyond the Green Line, and so it can be very dangerous for tourists. Now, I'm not saying it's dangerous every day for people who work and live in the region. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is tourists tend to be targets. And targets are in more danger than not targets. So Bethlehem is on the other side of the Green Line. Bethlehem is currently within Israeli borders, but it was not within original 1948 British Mandate borders. Do you follow? I hate talking about the politics of the region, but you can't not, I know, double negative, so sue me, but you can't not talk about the politics of the region when I'm saying something like you had to cross the Green Line to go to Bethlehem, because the Green Line is purely a political statement. Well, yes and no, it's not purely political, but it's a very political statement. Anyways, so I decided not to go. A, because I'm not Christian, so why would I want to go to Bethlehem? B, to cross the Green Line in 2007 in Israel, you had to change buses, change tour guides, and you needed an armed guard. C, it was on fire. I'm serious. You could see the plume of smoke from our hotel room in Jerusalem. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good. It's kind of on fire right now. It wasn't a terrorist attack. It was, a brush fire that had gotten out of hand. But I'm like, still, I can see the smoke in the desert from my hotel room in Israel, in Jerusalem. I think I'll stay here. But I did go to, honestly, I cannot remember the name of the church, but it's where Jesus performed the miracle with, like, the 7 fish and managed to feed this whole crowd of people. The Feast of the 7 Fishes or whatever. Honestly, I really don't remember what it's called. But we went there. We did the Via della Rosa, which is the, Walk of the Roses, which is the path Jesus walked carrying the cross in Jerusalem before he was crucified. At least I think that's what it is. I know it was the path Jesus walked before he was crucified. Now, do I remember the name of it in Latin correctly? That's an entirely different matter. I did Masada again, and this time I got to take the gondola, which was so nice, because climbing the gondola, not fun. Not climbing the gondola. Climbing Masada. Because all you have is either the Roman ramp or the goat track. Take your pick. Neither of which is a particularly fun climb and can take about an hour. But this time we went there in the middle of the day because it's freaking January and it's 40 degrees and it's raining. Yes, it's raining in the desert at Masada. We took the gondola up, we took the gondola down. I actually got to go in the gift shop that time because the first time we were there, the gift shop wasn't open yet because it was too early in the morning. And that's when I bought the shirt I have that says, it's a picture of, like a cartoonish image of a hiker climbing Masada, and it says, Masada, I came, I saw, I climbed. Now, I didn't climb it on that 2007 trip, but I had climbed it on my previous trip. And the people I was also going, you can't buy that shirt, we didn't climb it. I'm like, no, you don't get it. I climbed it last time I was here. I have every right to buy this shirt, because I have in fact climbed both up and down Masada. We didn't do the Dead Sea on my second trip because, again, it was too cold and it was rainy. We did do the Dead Sea Scrolls again. We didn't do Yad Vashem, but we did do the Dead Sea Scrolls, which was really cool because when the first time I saw them in 2005, they weren't particularly well displayed and they didn't have a lot of examples of them, but they'd found a lot more and they actually built a really nice museum and all that stuff 2 years later by the time I got there in 2007. So seeing them again was really cool. There's no photography allowed in the museum because the scrolls are so fragile to light that, okay. It's not that there's no photography allowed, there's no flash photography allowed. So there's that. Let's see. Again, we did the Golan Heights. We saw a lot more, Roman and Greek ruins on that trip. I saw a lot more of Christian stuff. We actually did a tour because they'd done some excavations at the Western Wall, which I ranted about that last time. Where they'd actually dug down, like, beneath the houses and stuff that are backed up to the portion of the wall that isn't exposed. And so we got to walk down along the wall, like, to the corner of the platform, which was actually really cool. Still didn't get to see the Dome of the Rock. I really want to see the Dome of the Rock. Mostly because, like I said last time, it's absolutely stunning ceramic work, and it's just supposed to be absolutely gorgeous. But anyways. But it was really interesting because it was me and one other Jewish kid on the trip, and then our professor was Jewish. But everyone else on the trip was Christian. But it was funny because on the day that most of the group went to Bethlehem and I stayed behind, a few other people stayed with me. The other Jewish girl, she didn't care about going. And then a couple other people just didn't have an interest in it or something. I think one of them wasn't feeling whatever. But so I went walking with one of the people in our group in the old city in Jerusalem in the Jewish quarter in like the market section. And we're walking down the street, and we're looking at all the stuff, and we make a couple of like touristy souvenir purchases, right? And then I hear my name called. Now I hear my English name, which both times I went, our tour guides called me by my Hebrew name because it was far easier for them to pronounce Johanna than it was for them to pronounce Jessica. Gotta love foreign languages. So I hear my name called, and I turn around, and there's a kid from my first trip who's there with his parents, and he's from Newton. So, like, I'm in Nashua, New Hampshire. This kid's from Newton, Mass. And we run into each other in Jerusalem, in January. Because his family had spent New Year's in Israel, and they were still there, because this was only like a week after New Year's. And, I ran into him, and it was really funny, because his parents are like, who is this random kid you're yelling at in the street? And then I turn around and I start speaking with an American accent, and they're like, oh, okay, because, like, yeah, it's just one of those things. If you're a Jew and you go to Israel, there's a good chance you'll run into somebody you at least tangentially know. Like my dad has, now I'm going to sidetrack for a moment. My dad has a story from when him and my mom went to Israel in the 80s. And they're in the Knesset, which is the Israeli Senate. They're in the building for the Knesset. And they're sitting in their group and they're listening to the tour guide. And they're sitting in the back of their group and there's another tour group behind them. But my dad starts to fall asleep. And somebody from the group behind them taps him on the shoulder and says, David, wake up. Now, David is, in fact, my father's name. He turns around, and there's about half of the congregation from his aunt and uncle's synagogue in New Jersey sitting behind them. And most of them know him because he spent a good amount of time at his aunt and uncle's house in Jersey when he was growing up. This is my Aunt Lena and my Uncle Bert, who now live in Boca. This was their synagogue in the 80s, right? So my dad knows a bunch of these people. He knows who the rabbi is. He knows all these people. Like I said, if you go to Israel, there's a good chance you're going to run into somebody you know. There's the whole 6 degrees of separation thing going on. So it's going to be someone you at least know tangentially. First trip I went on, it was somebody I knew from USY. Second trip I went on, it was somebody I knew from my first trip to Israel. This is one of those things. But so, yeah, we did, the Golan Heights was cool. We did another winery tour, which was neat. We did Haifa. I did the Baha'i Gardens again, which isn't so cool in the winter as they are in the summer. But like I said, a lot more secular history this time. So, like, we went to go see Roman sites and Greek sites. We took tours of those. We did the tour of Masada again. I still didn't make it down to Eilat. No Dead Sea this time because it was too cold. We actually spent a good amount of the trip in Jerusalem because there's a lot of history in Jerusalem. And you can do a lot of day trips from Jerusalem places, especially because it only takes about 4.5 hours to drive cross country and about 6 or 7 hours from the very tip to the very tip, north-south. So, and Jerusalem's kind of central, so you can do a lot of stuff from Jerusalem. I know I'm forgetting a few things, and when I put the pictures in, I'll make notes on what stuff was and what we were doing. But that was a much shorter trip and a much more condensed trip than my first trip, because we were only there for 10 days on my second trip, and we were there for just over 2 weeks on my first trip. So, big difference in time. But I'm going But, so the other thing March Skies, aka Katie, had asked about, in her PM was Hebrew school. And so how it works, at least now, this is my synagogue in New Hampshire. I can't speak for anyone else anywhere else. What we did was so when I started preschool, there was in fact a preschool run by the synagogue. So I went to the Temple Beth Abraham Shalom preschool for 2 years. Then when I started kindergarten, I started doing Sunday school on Sunday mornings. Because we have our Sabbath services on Friday night and Saturday, so Sunday is not a rest day for us, so we do Sunday school. And that was K through 3rd grade. So 4 years I did Sunday school. Then in 4th grade, I switched to going to the after-school religious school, which was 2 days a week. So it was either Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. Depending on what year you were, they switched it up. So I did that 4th grade through 7th grade. So that was 2 days after school every week, except for vacation weeks. Like regular school vacation, not Hebrew school vacation. And no summer, obviously, because we only went during the school year or when regular school was in session. So the way, and we have milestones every year, but it's working up to your bar or bat mitzvah. Now, for boys, it's a bar mitzvah. For girls, it's a bat mitzvah. I had a bat mitzvah, because I'm a girl. So in 4th grade, traditionally, the kids run the service for Friday night. So you're required to go to a certain number of services every year. And we have services on Friday night, which are usually about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then we have Saturday morning services, which ran for about 3.5 hours on Saturday morning, starting at 9 o'clock. You can go to one or both every weekend. And so the 4th graders traditionally ran a Friday night service. 5th graders traditionally did a Saturday service. So 5th and 6th graders traditionally did a Friday night and a Saturday morning service, where instead of the rabbi leading services, leading the congregation in prayer, it would be the class. There are certain things that the kids can't do because they're not considered old enough religiously. It has nothing to do with their ability, but there's certain prayers and there's certain parts, especially of the Saturday service, where, for example, we're reading from the Torah and things like that. And to read from the Torah, you have to be considered an adult in the religious community, which is what your bar or bat mitzvah is about, is becoming an adult religiously in the eyes of the community. Now, at 13, you are not an adult secularly. You can't drink, can't drive, can't do any of that stuff. But religiously, it means you are ready to have a more substantial role in the congregation. Which means you can read from the Torah, you can do a Haftorah, which is, so I'll explain about that I'll do a side tangent to that real quick. So the Torah is what Christians call the Old Testament. It's the 5 books of Moses. But Jews also have the Psalms and the Talmudic writings. So we have the writings of the prophets. So the prophets are like Jeremiah, Ezekiel, all of those guys, prophets from the biblical era. And so what it is that the Haftorah was developed when the Greeks and the Babylonians originally told Jews they couldn't study the Torah. So Jews, being Jews, still want to study our religion, because if you get 3 Jews in a room, you'll have 4 opinions. Seriously. That's how it works. So what they did was they chose a portion from the prophets, a piece from the prophets that corresponded to what the Torah portion would have been that week. So what it is that the Jews read the entire Torah throughout the course of the year. We start in usually October on Sukkot, and then we read the whole thing through back to the end. And then we start over again. So every year we read the entire Torah. Now, And because of that, the Torah is split up into portions, 52 portions for each week of the year. And so what the rabbis did back then was they chose a portion from the prophets that corresponded in terms of theme to the portion of the Torah that they should have been reading that week. But because studying of the Torah itself was outlawed, they studied it tangentially through the writings of the prophets. Yes, I had to do the hand motion. So when when Jews could study the actual Torah again, they continued doing the Haftorah because it was a good way to explore the topic from a different angle. And so, but you can't read the Torah or the Haftorah until you have come of age religiously. Not legally, because that would be 18 and that's a little silly. But come 13, you're expected to be a fuller participant in religious activities. So that's why the 5th and 6th graders can't run portions of the Saturday service, because they are not considered old enough religiously. Back to the original topic. So then, in 6th grade, you run the full service. So 5th and 6th grade, you run the full Friday night and Saturday service. 4th grade, you run just the Friday night. So my class was ambitious and we ran the Saturday as well in 4th grade. Because we asked our rabbi if we could, and he said, if you're willing to do it. So we put it in and did the work. So we actually did 3 years of that. And then 7th grade was spent studying and preparing for our bar bat mitzvah. Now, my bat mitzvah was in December. My bat mitzvah was actually December 7th and 8th, 2000. So it's like 15 and a half years ago now. Cause it's been a long time. Cause I'm 27 now and I did this when I was 13. And, we almost had to cancel mine because we had a nor'easter. Not a blizzard, a nor'easter. The previous day dropped a ton of snow on us and we weren't sure people were going to be able to make the drive to the synagogue. But they managed to get the roads clear and everything, so we had it. It was freaking cold though, like cold. Like 0 degrees Fahrenheit cold, which is pretty cold. Though not the coldest we get in the winter here. We get cold on a regular basis. But for all of December, it was actually pretty cold, because it wasn't officially winter yet. But, a bunch of my family came, and, my family fly up from Florida, and so Friday night, I led the service in place of the rabbi. And we had, snacks and stuff afterwards. And then Saturday morning comes, and I lead the entire 3-hour some odd service. And we had a ceremony in the middle where I get my talit, which is the prayer shawl that religious Jews wear, and I carry the Torah, and then I didn't read from the Torah, because unfortunately, because my bat mitzvah was so early in the school year, I didn't have enough time to study both the Haftorah and the Torah portion for my date, for my weekend. So I only did the Haftorah. So we call people up, various family members. You can honor various family members by calling them up for what is called an aliyah, where they say blessings over the section of the Torah we're going to read. Then the portion is read. Then somebody else gets called up, and then we read another portion. So each week's portion is split up into multiple sections, and each aliyah is a section. And people are called up and they say blessings over the Torah, and it's a long, complicated process. And so then I had a luncheon at the synagogue after services, where our synagogue has a klezmer, so we had them play, and we served a dairy lunch, so like bagels and pasta and things like that. And then that night, instead of having the more traditional, dinner and a DJ at a hotel ballroom, right? Which is the traditional thing, it's the more modern traditional thing to do. Where you rent out a ballroom in a local hotel, you hire a DJ, you have it catered, etc., right? Well, that's not really me. I'm not a fancy person. I don't want to have to remember what fork to use. I don't want to wear heels and a dress. I'd already been wearing heels and a dress for most of the day. I didn't want to wear heels and a dress that night, I'm more of a jeans and t-shirt kind of person. I mean, I'll get dressed up if I have to, but I'm not a dressy up kind of person. That's just not me. And so I didn't want to have a super stuffy party when I'm not a super stuffy person. So what I did was, we have a skating rink, an indoor skating rink, for like rollerblading and roller skating the town over. So what I did was, and it's called Roller Kingdom, so what I did was I had my party at Roller Kingdom. And it was kids only, mom and grandma chaperoned, which, by the way, it was grandma's 94th birthday this past week. And I'll put a little video in at the end of us singing happy birthday to her, because it's really cute. But anyways, I had my party at Roller Kingdom, and my mom, my grandmother chaperoned, and it was just like the kids. No adults were invited, and also, I was not the only party. Because Roller Kingdom will, like, rent out, like, reserved tables for, like, a group. But there was, like, two birthday parties, and then just, like, random people, because, I mean, it's a Saturday night. I mean, and yeah, there's a DJ, because they're playing music, but it's a roller disco, but it's basically a roller disco. So, like, you know, it was much more me, and much more my thing. And at the end of the year, when we were talking about it, and my classmates said that I had the best party because, yeah, they didn't have to act like miniature adults. We actually got to act our age. Anyways, back to Hebrew school. But, like, you spend most of your 7th grade Hebrew school year, going to bar and bat mitzvahs of your classmates. Then, a lot of people actually stop going to religious school after 7th grade. Because it's not required. It's not required to your bar and bat mitzvah. It's not required. There's no more real requirement. There's no milestone in terms of schooling after that, in terms of religious school. But me being the person I am, and I just liked learning, and I liked going to school. I mean, I did get a little burnt out towards the end of college, but, you know, at that point, 8th grade, I still liked learning. And I wasn't burnt out on school yet. Excuse me, I'm yawning. I do not think I got to sleep last night. But anyways, so I went 2 more years, like, just with other classes and other people and stuff. I actually went down to Newton for that. So what happened was, there was a couple of years where I was kind of more helping out at the religious school than actually, learning. But then for my 10th grade year, my synagogue made an agreement with Pros Store, which is at Hebrew College in Newton, Mass., that junior high and high school students who were past their bar and bat mitzvah year and who wanted to could go down and take classes there, afterwards. So junior and senior year, I went there, and that was on Sundays again. Sorry, I stuck myself with something in the carpet. So I went there for junior and senior year of high school, and that was, like a 4-period day. It started at about 10 o'clock in the morning. We had 4 periods with a break for lunch. And then we had 1 weeknight locally. So there was a couple of teachers who would come up and do some classes, on weeknights. So, but by that point, I had a car to drive, and I had my license. So, unlike everyone else who had to carpool because they didn't have their driver's licenses because they were old enough, because I was the oldest person from our synagogue going to school down there, I would drive myself. Or sometimes instead of a parent driving the carpool and having to hang around Newton for 4 or 5 hours, I would drive the carpool in at least one of the carpools. Because there was about 15 of us that went down, and so nobody had a van that could hold that many people, so there was multiple carpools. But, like, if a parent couldn't drive that week, I'd just be like, yeah, I got 4 seats in my car, come on. Because I was old enough, I had a license, I had a car, you know. But the first time I did that, it was really funny. Because I showed up on my own in Newton, which nobody who I was taking classes with mentioned anything, because actually I wasn't taking classes with anyone from the synagogue. But then I saw one of the parents at lunch, and they were like, wait a minute, how'd you get here? I'm like, I drove? They're like, what do you mean you drove? I'm like, I'm 17. I have a driver's license. And they were like, oh. And so, like I said, I did that junior and senior year of high school, and then that was it. Yeah, I didn't continue my religious studies in college. There's nothing, unless I went to a religious college, which I didn't do because I wanted a degree in physics, not in religious studies, and I still don't want to become a rabbi. Because I didn't go to a religious college, there isn't really any opportunity for you to continue your Jewish learning unless you do it on your own, after you graduate high school. So, that is gonna be it for today. Oh, one more thing. I sell those Jamberry wraps. I'm a consultant. And I don't have any on at the moment, but these are because I took them off, last night, and I just didn't have time last night to put new ones on. But these are the ones I am going to put on tonight. Like, I'm not going to do them all at work, but once I'm done work tonight, I'm going to put these on. These are called Tapestry, and I really like them. Actually, let me pull them out of the packaging so it's not super shiny and crazy. But seriously, if you're interested in these, drop me a line. I don't mind talking about them. So there you go. Camera's not going to focus. The camera's not focusing, but I really like them, and they look like a tapestry, so I think they're going to be cool. Anyways, that sums it up. I am going to insert pictures, because I still have the pictures from my 2007 Israel trip. I'm going to insert those after this, before the credits. I'm also going to insert us singing Grandma Happy Birthday. Her shocked face is great, because she had no idea it was a party for her. And then the credits will roll. So, thank you for watching. If you were a new viewer, thank you for sticking around through this. I promise there's usually much more knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for sticking through this. I promise there's usually much more knitting. Feel free to come and leave comments in the Ravelry group. If you have any questions, feel free to PM me on Ravelry, put it in the questions thread I have in the group, send me an email. My email's in the credits. You can Instagram me, whatever. Feel free. I have an email, whatever. Yeah, so, I think that's about it. So, I hope you all, I keep slouching because I'm sitting on the stupid beanbag. Hope you all have a good week, and I will see you next week, and hopefully I have more than socks to show you. So, bye!
He wants to crawl right back. They always want to go back.
Well, he spent a lot of time.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear grandma. Happy birthday to you.
Go ahead. Come
come on, here.
Try to blow them
Come
out.
on.
I'm so surprised.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Oh, Johnny Trees are so cute.
Hey!
I'm glad to know this. I'm glad to know there's longevity in the Brianna family. We're all trying to beat each other.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
I called her up the
Never
other night. I'm
crossed
singing
my
happy
mind.
birthday to her on the
That's
phone.
why I
She's
told you
laughing.
so.
She's laughing at
She's
me.
laughing at crying.
No, she was laughing.
Happy birthday.
Here, let's move it back so it's easier for her to make the
So
cut.
Tommy's 95,
And then I'll cut it all the way
94.
up.
Frankie's gonna be 90.
Yeah.
My mother's 86. 86 in July.
Hold on, honey.